I rejoined Noah on his dangerous bed to let him know that I thought it would be a good idea for me to go home. I figured we'd reached the point of no return in the makeout department, and we were either going to get each other sloppily off, or I would leave like a lady, or at least somebody with the willpower to get herself back home after second base and regular third sort of over the pants. I was very proud of myself for deciding to establish my boundaries. What a treat for both of us. I'd leave him wanting more and get to make up for what I'd worried was an inappropriately early return to a gent's boudoir without dinner and such. And it was our first date. I was so proud of myself, like I was getting ready to order a salad at the pizza place. I returned to the bedroom and told Noah what I'd decided. I explained to him that I had to get up early and couldn't stay, and he said that he understood. And then he bent me over the side of his bed and fucked me from behind. Yes, that bed. It was so high that my feet dangled an inch off the floor. But Noah, bless his mid-20s determination, still managed to get behind and inside of me and pounded for what seemed like a good 45 seconds. Muttering the whole time to me, the pigeon outside and the abstract pattern morphing screensaver on the laptop turned towards the bed. Is this what you wanted? Is it? And maybe it was. I guess I wasn't sure. But once it was happening, I was okay with it. I mean, it didn't feel good. I'm not a reticent rape victim or anything. It was consensual like a fox. And conceptually exciting, I suppose. The kind of action you settle for in high school because you're not used to having an orgasm and the youth of your inexperienced partner is not unique. It was actually funny, the abrupt timing of it all after my weak protests. Maybe I could recommend his writerly instincts to my agent with more confidence than I had earlier in the evening. Afterward, I took a moment to think about what to do. I'd been getting ready to pack up and head home moments before, but then there'd been sex, and I figured, well, now I have to sleep over, because if I don't, then I'm a huge slut. So I did. And in the morning, when I got up to brush my teeth with my finger, Noah's bathroom door opened with the sound of a flush, revealing a shirtless dude in his 20s with a half-up, half-down, ponytailed hairstyle. I was taken aback. I don't usually see anybody that early in the morning, and because I don't live in Tampa, I never see hair like that. Oh, that's Doug. He's an investment banker / bodybuilder, Noah explained to me, once I told him who I'd met. And of course it was Doug. I had to get out of there before I'd met more of his roommates with career / hobby hybrids. I slipped on the summer dress and jacket I'd had on at the bar 10 hours earlier and raced home so I could take a shower. I felt sort of gross. It wasn't until I was back in my apartment when I realized how itchy and irritated my skin was. There were bites all over my legs and under my arms, and my eyes were red even after I showered. I looked more closely at the bites, and my heart sank. Fucking bedbugs. Sleeping with Noah exposed me to the trendiest and most notorious of New York City's formidable vermin population. He had given me the real estate form of an STD. I went to bedbugger.com and studied examples of the bites I was certain came from that stupid fucking bed Noah sawed and nailed together with plywood and capped with a mattress that probably came from the street. I pictured his cotton dorm room comforter and his flannel sheets. I remember the pigeon's nest outside of his window, rats with wings defecating over the AC, the filthy pre-war walls mauve with lead paint, that bathroom. I took another shower and made an emergency appointment with my dermatologist, a nice man. I started seeing Dr. Steingart a little while ago. This refers to an earlier chapter. When I called the office of Dr. Nussbaum, the 9/11 herpes informant. That's a teaser for the rest of the book. To find out that Nussbaum had died of old age. I'm sorry to hear that. When can I come in to get this acne scraped? I asked to the grieving receptionist at the time. 7 years later, after spending the night with Noah, I waited for Dr. Steingart to look at my bites while my favorite of his nurses made small talk with me, as she always does, about her favorite stand-up comedians, all of whom are black. Barbara is a tiny Italian-American woman who lives in New Rochelle and has worked as a nurse seemingly since the beginning of time. The only thing she likes more than reprimanding me for picking at a zit is telling me how much she loves Sinbad. It was comforting to hear her voice that afternoon. Barbara was suddenly the only person I wanted to be around that day, in the aftermath of an evening plagued with vermin bites and intercourse absent of clitoral stimulation. When he asked what the reason was for my seeing Dr. Steingart that day, I told Barbara that I'd slept in a guy's bed the night before and was convinced I was pecked to death by the bugs that dwelled in its crevices. She told me the doctor would be right in, and also how much she was looking forward to seeing Steve Harvey at Mohegan Sun. And soon enough, there was Dr. Alvin Steingart to look at my bites, shake his head, and remind me that I should be careful about whose bed I sleep in. I felt like I did in college, going to the gynecologist for confession-like absolution after each one of my sexual misdoings. Even though Noah and I used a condom, the Xerox New York Post article about the bedbug epidemic Dr. Steingart handed me was a black and white reminder that there are still sticky wickets besides chlamydia to circumnavigate after the deed. And of course, I should have been more careful about whose bed I slept in, because there are so many complications that come from sex you assume is casual and non-reoccurring. The failed pilot kind of sex. If something bad happens after what turns out to be a one-night stand, from heartache to bedbug bites, there's an excellent chance you won't feel comfortable contacting your one-time partner to report the somber findings, unless they are life-threatening and you're at sort of a genuine moral crossroads. But if you're entertaining the idea of maybe seeing him again and nobody has any oozing sores, part of you is still compelled to stay mute, because we've been indoctrinated by people who make the rules about how a girl who wants another date should keep it light. Women, even when plagued with problems that transcend wanting to be liked by a cute boy, are still under the impression that you shouldn't contact a guy after he stoops you, especially the day after, even as you're writing a check out to your dermatologist, because nobody fucking takes freelancers insurance, But you don't send the guy the bill, even though you're tempted, because you're wise enough to know that as soon as you've consented to sex of any kind, no matter what you hope comes of it, as soon as it's over, you're back in the business of taking care of yourself. So I sealed off the clothes I'd worn the night before in a Ziploc freezer bag and sent the whole mess to the cleaners, and after I cleaned my place like a Stepford wife on the diet pills they used to make that still had cocaine in them, I took a third shower and changed my sheets, and then I was done. As far as ailments go, I was relieved to have come down with the kind of sick that can be treated with some cortisone cream and good apartment hygiene. And I was disappointed that Noah never followed through on his emails after that night to get together again after what I'd had all intentions to be a proper date. I felt like I blew it by coming home with him in the first place, but I guess it was good to have Noah's failed test of interest up front, so I didn't waste more time wondering whether he was a long-term contender. But it still hurt to see him shift from caring enough to impress me with cute texts to ignoring my email about the Nicolas Cage movie that came on late at night, the one we were talking about back at the bar. I blamed myself, but who knows if anyone besides the bugs were actually culpable. In the end, I made a clean break and didn't carry Noah into my thoughts any more than I carried vermin into my apartment. Sometimes you have to be your own preemptive exterminator. Thanks.